What's up, guys? This is Agent Quantum. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be my first upload of hopefully what will be many uploads. Little background on me. I'm 29. I grew up in New Mexico and also Florida, and have had a lot of experience with substances, occultism, magic, Satanism, and mental illness to top it all off. So those are going to be the main topics that I share stories about on this channel. And yeah, I mean, we'll just go ahead and get right into it, guys. This first upload for this channel is about the time that I ate an ounce of penis envy mushrooms in the course of probably about 12 hours. I ate the whole ounce. This happened a little less than a year ago. It is something that I will never forget. Reminds me of I think it's funny if this video pops off. I am just laughing internally at the reactions that it's going to get from people that would never in a million years ever think about ever eating that much. It was by no means easy. It was a difficult experience. Granted, you know, I have ingested psychedelic substances probably over 200 times in the past 16 years. I started taking LSD and mushrooms when I was 13. So yeah, about 16 years of psychedelic use. Yeah, I don't think there really is a psychedelic that I haven't tried other than mescaline or peyote or San Pedro. I haven't done ayahuasca, but other than that, I've done all of them multiple times, and I've really enjoyed it. I really do think that psychedelic use is by far, bar none, the most effective tool when it comes to understanding existence, solipsism, magic, spiritual evolution, and God, if you want to use that word. I typically don't. I don't like God, but that's another video. But yeah, we'll get into it. So I had a dealer back then, a little less than a year ago, and I got a good deal on the ounce, the penis envy mushrooms. Just for explanation for anybody that is not familiar with penis envy mushrooms, mushrooms have many different strains, just like marijuana. The typical strain that people usually get when they say, "Oh, I got a bag. I picked up some mushrooms today." They're typically what's called golden teachers. Golden teachers are, in my experience, the most common, most widely sold strain of mushrooms. They're a fantastic strain. I love golden teachers. They're the very, very thin, typically very thin stem with a very shiny, it is very shiny golden cap. Those are golden teachers. That's typically those are the baseline in terms of what people understand when it comes to dosing, when it comes to strength of mushrooms. So when it comes to typical psilocybin and psilocin content in mushrooms, such as golden teachers, half to 1 gram is going to be a low dose. Micro dose would be anywhere from a 1/16 upward to a 1/4 of a gram. Once you go over 1 gram, then you're kind of entering some pretty serious territory, I would say. The first time I ate mushrooms was golden teachers, and I ate 3 grams when I was 13. That was a great time. But then it goes up if you do further research, which I have the two informational harm reduction and community websites that I use as a psychonaut when it comes to any substance, not just psychedelics, is erowid.org and psychonautwiki.org. You know, if you do more research into a lot of these, you know, what would you call them? Spiritual teachers, spiritual activists for mushrooms. The biggest one that comes to mind in my head is Terrence McKenna, and he was the biggest promoter, he was the biggest activist when it came to expressing knowledge about dosing ranges, specifically referring to what would be called our heroic dose. And the heroic dose, when you go over 3 or 3.5 grams, that's where you're breaching some very serious territory. You're going to be, you're going to need to do preparation for those types of trips. And a heroic dose, you know, when it comes to golden teachers, is going to be around 5 grams. 5 grams, 5 dried grams. So dried grams, that's, you know, fresh mushrooms. You typically won't find them unless you're growing them yourself. When you buy mushrooms on the street, or if they're legal in your state, about 100% of the time they're going to be dried. They're going to be dried mushrooms. So 5 dried grams of like golden teachers or any other strain of mushroom that typically has that baseline level, those baseline levels of the psychoactive psilocin and psilocybin, it's going to be 5 grams. That's where you've gone what a lot of people would say too far. That leads me into explaining that the strain that I ate, that I ate an ounce of penis envy mushrooms, they scientifically have been shown to be about 3 times as potent. They have about 3 times the amount of active ingredient than a typical golden teacher or golden teacher-esque mushroom would have in terms of potency. So say if I ate 5 grams of penis envy mushrooms, I could very well just have titled this video, you know, 15 grams of mushrooms. It is very easy that for me to have been able to title this video the time I ate 3 ounces of mushrooms, but that wouldn't get clicks, right? Because people would be like, there's no fucking way you can do that. That's like too much. That's too much material. It's too much like plant or, you know, fungi material to ingest without just, you know, vomiting it up. So for all intents and purposes, you know, having 28 grams or 1 full ounce of penis envy mushrooms, chemically wise, in my brain and in my body, it was the same amount of psilocybin and psilocin as eating 3 ounces straight. So yeah, that day I hit up my plug, my Connect, and said, "Hey man, I'm gonna pick up a zip from you today." Later came to learn when I asked him about it a day or two later, I was like, have you ever done that? Or you ever know anybody who's done that? And I was proceeded to be enlightened to the knowledge that if you eat an ounce of mushrooms, it's colloquially called a zip trip. Love that for me. So I went and picked up the zip of penis envy mushrooms by my house, and came home and started to prepare for the trip. This was probably going to be around, I would say, maybe 5:30, 6 p.m. I don't think I had work I definitely did not have work the next day. If I did, I would not have shown up. So I was free for the next couple days, which I needed, for sure. Proceeded to start to prepare to, eat the ounce. When I started, I took the ounce of mushrooms and I split it in half. So these mushrooms were dried very, very extensively or something. I don't know what was up with it, but the mushrooms were in fact like rock hard. It was very weird. I've eaten mushrooms so many times. I've never bought in a bag of mushrooms where they were dry to the point that if I hadn't prepared them the way that I did, which I was planning on preparing them this way anyways, but if I didn't have this option, I'm sure there's no fucking way I could have chewed these things. They were literally rock hard. I don't know what the fuck that is. If anybody knows, you can write it down in the comments, but regardless, they were the real deal. I mean, fuck, I was fucking shot out. So the way I prepared it was I split in half, got the 14 grams, and I had a coffee bean grinder, which is fantastic, by the way. If you really are taking, you know, big doses, or you want to do like what's called a lemon tech, that's another video. If you're curious, you can Google lemon tech. That's just another way to eat mushrooms that makes it more potent. I didn't do that with this. There's no fucking need. Absolutely no fucking need. So I threw these 14 grams of penis envy mushrooms in a coffee bean grinder, which is it's like a blender for smoothies, but it's just dry. So that worked fantastic. I threw the 14 grams in the coffee bean grinder. Took a minute or two to grind it up into a powder, and proceeded to just dump the powder into a cup of cold water. Stirred it until the powder, got soaked with the water, and then chug that glass. Yeah. So after chugging that, I did, to kind of give some explanation. I do have mental illness, which I don't sit either way. I know plenty of people in the field of, psychedelic activism, whatever, like, man, if you have psychosis or a mood disorder, you should never take psychedelics. And I'm like, bitch, if you got a fucking psychotic or a mood disorder, like, you're fucking tripping anyways. You're tripping your fucking balls off sober. That shit fucking sucks. You might as well take something that makes you trip your balls off in a little bit more of a productive light. That's my opinion. But that's a whole other topic, whole other video. So yeah, I which leads me to the point here is that knowing that I do have mental illness, I typically have just bottles and bottles of pharmaceutical medication just laying around, and FYI, anybody who's super smart or intelligent in the comments that are like, well, Asia Quantum, you were on medication, it doesn't work, blah blah blah. No, I promise you, I've been eating mushrooms since I was 13, and I have been utilizing pharmaceutical medication to medicate mental illness for over 11 years now. I'm highly aware. I have been highly aware of the pharmaceutical chemicals and the illegal chemicals that I have put into my body. And for reference, I had been taking a mood stabilizer at the time, and was prescribed an antipsychotic at a very low dose, but it is a newer antipsychotic that does not interact with dopamine or serotonin receptors. So for those of you that are wondering, like, oh, well, blah, 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 antipsychotics, you can't trip or you can't pop Molly on that stuff, it doesn't work. You're right. This is a novel. I've been on a novel antipsychotic, so it doesn't interacts with different receptors. You can do more research on that if you want to, but does not affect the potency of the mushrooms. I promise you that. So I had a bottle of Zofran, available, which was helpful. Zofran is a anti-nausea medication. It tastes like candy, and you just pop a little 25 milligram tablet under your tongue. It dissolves, tastes like candy, and it reduces nausea pretty effectively. So that was helpful, but as this come up started happening, eating just drinking 14 grams, which, doing the math is 3 times as potent. So that's 42 grams equivalent. It's like equivalent if I just ate 42 grams of shrooms in about 14 grams of the actual physical material, fungi wise. Come up was very fast for the stuff. I don't remember what music I was listening to at the time, or what I was doing specifically on my phone. I was in my living room. I had prepared the shrooms in the coffee grinder and mixed it into the water in my kitchen, brought the cup to my living room, and was sitting on my living room couch after I drank that cup of water, of shroom water. And nausea was vicious, absolutely vicious. It is honestly mind-boggling that I didn't, I did puke for sure. But thankfully I had the Zofran tablets, so that let me kind of keep the shroom water down for, I don't know, I think I made it like an hour and a half to 2 hours before I ended up having to go to the bathroom and just violently vomiting. And I could have vomited way earlier if I wanted to, but waste not, want not. I just bought a whole zip. Like, I'm not trying to eat 14 grams and then puke it up 20 minutes later. Fuck that. So, we kept it down for about two plus hours, to try and get as much of the plant material to sink down to the bottom of my stomach and hopefully get into the small intestine, because a lot of stuff is absorbed in the small intestine. So the come up was extremely uncomfortable. It's like that feeling where you take like a tab or two of acid, or 2 or 3 grams of mushrooms, and you hit that peak right before, so you get real nervous right when it starts to kick in, 20 to 45 minutes later. That goes away quickly, then you start laughing and shit. But again, typically what I've experienced is that 3.5 hours into a shroom or an acid trip, that anxiety, that nervousness hits pretty hard right before you crest the climax into the peak of the trip, where things are just the most intense. It felt like that, but for 2 hours straight, it was not kind to me at all. This was not kind. This was in my, top 5 worst trips of all time. No regrets though. I'm very fucking happy I did this. I am very fucking happy. Bad trips are bad trips, but boy, they make for good stories. They really do. So, I puked, I came up, and about 2 hours later, I had to get up off of my living room couch, and somehow I made it through my bedroom into the bathroom to puke. And after that, that's when the air raid sirens started going off. And the National Guard was deployed into my town, and I could, it was like an intuitive telepathy situation where, I knew the world was literally coming to an end. And this was not oh, it's shrooms, I know it's fake. No, I just ate the equivalent of 42 grams of shrooms by eating this half ounce in one fucking gulp. So at that point, and it's weird because a lot of people would say of course, if you ate that much, you're going to get an ego death. You're not even going to remember who you are. No, no ego death. None of it. I was there. I was Agent Quantum the whole time. But I had lost control of not just my faculties, not just my understandings of reality, but also my ability to differentiate between what was real and what was shrooms. There was no fucking way. No way. So I had managed, after I finished puking, I hear the air raid sirens and the military flooding the streets. I managed to, and it was this vibe that just came over the planet. I mean, that came over my house, came over the neighborhood. It was just the most vile, evil, hopeless, and merciless experience, vortex of existence that you couldn't even fucking imagine. So I somehow managed to get to my bed in my bedroom from the bathroom, and I lay down, and that's where I was to stay for the next 12 or 13 hours straight. No fucking lie. Like, stuck on that bed with air raid sirens, not nationally, an international crisis event, an international emergency was underway, and we were doomed. We were doomed. And I had no idea that I knew that I had taken shrooms the whole time, but there was no way for me to consciously or internally feel like an understanding that it wasn't real. That was out the window. Like, no, I know I ate shrooms, but I also know that I've been transported to the dimension where this planet is dying. In the reason why the planet was under a mass extinction event was because we were being invaded by 25 to 30 foot tall extraterrestrial interdimensional beings. They were of a reptilian nature, and it was interesting. It was intriguing because there wasn't a lot of visual hallucination. It was more of like mind's eye understanding. When you visualize something in your head and you're thinking of it, it was like that, except I was looking through the walls of my house and I could see through everything that was solid matter. And these extraterrestrials, these 30-foot tall, reptile beings, wanted me to watch. They wanted me to bear fucking witness to this invasion, to this torture, to this murder, to this, rape. It was a murder, torture, rape simulation, and that they forced me to bear witness to this all night. And this was not just one night. Like, my body was writhing around, moaning and groaning and crying and just snotty and it was just like a revulsion, just absolute revulsion. My body was doing everything in its power to revolt against the reality of the situation because it was just so violently, it was making me so violently ill. These beings they touched ground in my neighborhood first, and then they infested the earth. Within 10-20 minutes flat, the earth was done for, fucking done for. By the time I had made it to the bed to lay down from the bathroom, that's when the air raid sirens started going off, in like a state where tornadoes happen or whatever, and like that type of shit, and then you have you're watching television, you're watching your fucking SpongeBob, and all of a sudden, this is an emergency broadcast brought to you by the United Nations. This is a mass event, like literally that shit. That's what it was. And these aliens touched down in my neighborhood, and like I said, not a very visual trip, but mind's eye was just off the fucking rails with just having to bear witness to this invasion, this murder, this rape, this torture, this worldwide murder, rape, torture simulation that was brought on by my ingestion of this much mushrooms. So when these aliens touched down, there was probably only maybe 4 or 6 of them. It was 4 to 6 beings that had touched down in my neighborhood, and they were ripping buildings out of the ground from underneath the foundation. Like, I don't know how they were doing this, but They were ripping neighborhoods up from below the fucking asphalt. They would just scoop it from under the asphalt and just ripping entire buildings. Like every house in my neighborhood was just ripped and just extracted from the ground violently and just so destructively. And they were murdering, raping, and torturing every single family, every single friend, every single person that I knew and that I didn't know and that I would have known in all of these houses. And then they were feeding off of this interaction. That's how like evil Satanism works, right? Like satanic cults, like they murder and rape and torture people IRL because of the energetic transaction that happens. They are vampires. They are fucking vampires, and these fucking 30 feet tall aliens knew what the fuck was up when it came to that shit. And they were like, you're good, agent. Like, so yeah. So they were forcing me to bear witness to this just egregious shit. Egregious. I mean, fucking horrible. Absolutely fucking atrocious. It was atrocious. And this went on, I mean, to explain the weather type of environment the planet had gone under as this had begun and proceeded to exist as for the remainder of the next 12-13 hours, which ended up being in the dimension that these penis envy mushrooms launched me to. This dimension, just to give an explanation of what the weather was. When these beings dropped down and started to invade, they had unleashed technological weather modification weapons like I've never thought of, I've never seen before. They had essentially these metallic spheres that were invisible, that as they dropped down through our atmosphere onto the planet, they released these invisible metallic spheres, which then emitted and sprayed this quantum black ash plasma type substance, which just like, think Silent Hill or like Resident Evil 4 where everything is foggy, but times 10, like times 5 or 10, like 10 times as foggy. Like, it wasn't like you couldn't see, it was like you couldn't be. And as this quantum plasma black ash cloud just fucking, it was like the fucking atmosphere is like a bubble, right? Like we've got our gravity and we've got our atmosphere and our stratosphere, and then we've got the air and the clouds and all the, how our ecosystems work and stuff. It's a bubble, right? Like there's the globe. And then we've got, a layer, there's a bubble. There's a bubble where our air is and all that stuff. This bubble, they had just fucking infested it with this ash, with this quantum plasma ash. And while this went on all night, this was not one night. Like I said, I got launched to a different dimension on this same planet and experienced this invasion. And during this invasion, over those 12 hours, I watched the sun pass over the ash 5 fucking times. 5 fucking times I was stuck in my bed, writhing around, crying, witnessing fucking just the terror, the hopelessness, the lack of mercy that these beings had was just baffling. It was astounding. I was fucking astounded in the worst way possible. And when I say it wasn't super visual, it was like, that didn't matter. I saw it all. I felt it all. I felt every fucking slice. I felt every fucking penetration, every dirty word, every evil smirk that they gave to every single being on this planet. I was inside every human beings and animals and bugs and plants' mind, experiencing what they were going through as this murder, rape, and torture was going on for the next 5 days within this one night. And I just remember, God, it was like the worst fucking part. Like, you know, my family, like, dude, like, what they... So, these 4 to 6 beings that landed and made first touchdown in my neighborhood, and then before they proceeded to invade the rest of our planet, just to give an explanation or kind of a description of what they looked like, they were reptile. They were like Slender Man-esque, 25 to 30 feet tall. They were interdimensional, so they were kind of like ghosts. I mean, they weren't green, that's for sure. They were very much so like grayish to black, translucent, transparent. They were made, it looked like they were made of something see-through. But everything they did was very, very viscerally physical. I mean, the way they interacted with the humans on our planet, my family, my friends, our communities, you. It was very, very visceral, raw, fucking, very physical. I mean, it was really happening for me. Like, this was fucking real. Like, there was no getting around it. Like, and I had to watch it. I had to watch all of it. I had to watch all 10 billion points of perceiving consciousness within the human form experience this terror, this rampage. And along with every animal too, they did this to the animals too. I mean, it was fucking horrible. It was fucking horrible. I'm not sorry for crying. I had to fucking witness this shit for 5 days. For 5 fucking days. Shouts out to psilocybin. I mean, dude, this shit is not a fucking joke. So, yeah, as they flew down through the atmosphere to touch down in my neighborhood and make first contact. Oh, dude. As they came down, they had released these invisible metallic spheres. They were quantum weather modification, worldwide weather modification devices. They were like tear gas and shit, where law enforcement will shoot a fucking canister into somebody's house and then it just fucking emits this fucking cloud of gas. Like these spheres that they deployed in our atmosphere, they must have only deployed like 2 or 3 of these spheres, maybe just 2, one for each hemisphere or something. I don't know. I never got access to their fucking to their attack records or military correspondences or whatever the fuck. But these spheres they released into the atmosphere as they descended upon our planet, released this noxious, pitch black, ashy quantum plasma that from the ground of our planet up to the edge of the atmosphere where the bubble is, the edge of the bubble, we've got our globe and then we've got our atmosphere and then there's space, everything between the ground and and space, just fucking completely full of this quantum plasma ash. Like you think nuclear apocalypse, where the nuclear ash from the bomb covers the sky and you have this darkness that just blocks out the sun. Like that's what they did. Except they didn't have to blow anything up to do it. They just released it. They just released it. And so how I knew it was 5 days in this dimension that they had brought me to, or that the mushrooms had brought me to, I the beings, these reptile beings, they wanted me to know how much time was passing as they drug this rampage on and on and on. And I saw the sun through my ceiling. Like I said earlier in the video, it wasn't visual in the sense that I'm seeing bright colors or the leaves on the tree are spinning like clocks or anything like that. No, the walls were not breathing. The walls were there. They wanted me to experience this exactly as reality is seen sober, right? But I had just been tapped into their reality. What they wanted me to bear witness to, I was witness to. So their way of forcing me to do timekeeping over this murder, rape, torture simulation they had put our planet under, was to have me. They would subconsciously cue my perception to look up through the ceiling, through physical matter, through this plasma that was blocking the sun, and I could see the sun pass over the sky invisibly. And over those 12 to 13 hours, I saw the sun pass over 5 times. And this was not like time dilation, and then I came back and I'm like, yeah, no, that felt like that. Like, yeah, kind of, but like, no, like, I felt every second of those 524 hours within those 12 hours in this time, in this third dimension. I just, they were, they didn't use weapons like humans do when we hurt each other. Usually, we use tools to do so, be it, blunt objects or sharp tools or ballistics, guns, bombs, all this stuff. These beings had no need. They had no need. We were like the equivalent of fucking stepping on an ant and just walking by, except they had shrunk themselves down, which was 30 feet tall. That was shrunk down for them so that they could be more in tune and more interactive with the fucking torture. I mean, it was fucking sick. And as they were, like I said earlier in the invasion, they were ripping every single building out of the ground. And as they were doing this to these buildings, they were targeting every single individual individually, unless they knew that you cared about other people in the house or other people within the neighborhood or communities or surrounding areas on the planet. They would force the individual to connect with their hearts and their minds and their third eye to those other people, and they would create a little collective consciousness community, a commune of collective consciousness amongst every single family, every single friend group, every single acquaintance group. They didn't give a fuck about that on the planet, as they were raping parents, kids, and fucking ripping parents' heads off in front of their kids, and then fucking having sex with the fucking decapitated head, and then doing it to the fucking animals too. And they did this very quickly for the entire planet, right? Like, they did this pretty quickly. They didn't care too much because they knew that I didn't have a serious. I didn't grow up with these people. I didn't know these people by name. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, there's 10 billion people on this planet. Like, they wanted to get that done fairly quickly, but they had to do some searching and find my mom's house about, it's about like a 20, 30-minute drive from the house I was living in at the time. And I was trying to hide my family. I was trying to hide them. but I couldn't. And they found my family. When they found my family, like they were doing where they were like subconsciously cueing my perception to look up through the ash in the sky to see the sun pass over for the third fucking time or whatever. It was like they had made my family like perception magnets for my fucking eyes and my third eye and my heart. Like once they found my mom and my family and our pets and shit, like it was like say like they were there, and I'm crying about something over there, and the moment they found my family, it was like just immediately just fucking beam of perception locked in with an encrypted combination. Like I couldn't look away. I could not look away. Like I was stuck seeing this shit. And so it was different. It was different with my family than with everybody else on the planet. Like everybody else on the planet, they were very much so like just very physically violent, sexually violent. But you know, they made me bear witness to the end of our planet. Just me, in a very solipsist kind of way. And they wanted me to know they had no mercy. They had none. They had no fucking mercy about this shit. Like, and they fucking loved that I had to watch all of it. And so when I was cued by their telepathic mind control to like look 25 miles away and 5 neighborhoods over to where my family was living, you know, they didn't rip my family's house out of the ground like they did with the others. They shrunk down even further, but they were still perceived by my family's consciousness as 30 feet tall, but they had shrunk down enough for me to understand that they didn't want to destroy the environment. They wanted to exist within it so they could intellectually knock us all down peg by peg by peg. And I mean, this was like, you know, like this went on for 5 days, right, in one night, right? So like they took maybe 2 days. I saw the sun pass over this ash in our atmosphere twice, and then by the time I couldn't keep up the spiritual encryption on my family's location any longer, I think it was the third day night of this invasion, of this, you know, rampage that these beings were on. And you know, they had deployed probably, you know, maybe 50 to 100 more beings across the globe, but these were the same 4 to 6 that had made first contact with our planet in my neighborhood, and they wanted to be the ones. They needed to be the ones doing this. And when they found my family's house, my mom, my brother, our pets, my aunts and my uncles and my cousins and stuff, what they did to them was unfucking speakable. And I don't care. I'm going to speak about it. I don't care. They proceeded to rape slowly and violently and torturously every single family member in that house. And it wasn't like they were distracted from me. Like it was like I could see them 30 miles away with my third eye, through all matter physical. And as they were doing this shit to my family, it was like mid-thrust, they'd look at me 30 miles away and make eye contact with my pineal gland and just wink and smirk and lick my dead family's fucking blood off of their upper lip type of shit. Like it was just fucking disgusting. Fucking horrible. And it was like the worst was when they, you know, like I thought they were going to spare the pets, but they didn't. They fucking didn't. It's like that, These beings liked to rip the humans and the animals apart into shreds with their hands. And that's how they did it, They would rape and torture and all that stuff. But for most every living being on our planet over these five days that this happened that night on that half ounce of penis envy mushrooms, their preferred method of execution was it was like ripping the human body to shreds by hand, and they would like grow talons on command to just like and just start fucking ripping the shreds and pulling the intestines out and like pulling capillaries and arteries apart in half, and like, so they had been doing this to my family. And I think out of the 5 days, the 5 Passovers of the sun on this night, they took a whole day to take care of my family for me to watch. And yeah, they did this to our little dogs and our little cats. And it was like they made my family members and my pets, like they were rubbing it in their faces that I was bearing witness to this and that I wasn't gonna die. And then it was like, when this was all happening, it was very obvious there was no hope. It was very obvious. Very fucking obvious. Like, it's done. Like, it's been a good ride. Like, let's wrap this shit up. But they really enjoyed the torture, the mental games with my family in this dimension and my family's animals, our pets in this dimension, by creating a fallacy of hope. That I was going to be a savior of sorts in this situation. Not only were they making me bear witness to this, but they were making my victimized family bear witness to me bearing witness. And, like, they were 30 feet tall, and they're fucking violently sexually destroying my family, and the little dogs, dude, like, I can hear our dogs yelping and fucking begging me for fucking help, and like I said, like, I couldn't look away, like, it's just it was very sad. It was very fucking sad. It was really traumatizing. This type of dose range is not for the fucking weak. It's really not. It's not for the weak. So yeah, my family didn't make it. Nobody did. And yeah, I didn't know that I was gonna make it. I didn't know that their whole plan was to have me bear witness to it and be the sole survivor of a planet terminated early. So yeah, they satanically bled the life out of this planet one by one, through torment and heartbreak and despair and mercilessness and brutality. The sun passed over 5 times, and the air raid sirens never turned off for these 5 days, and none of the National Guard that was deployed in my neighborhood or across the planet made it. They were all dead. All dead. The whole planet. Fucking dead. I guess they got what they wanted. They got what they wanted from us. after 5 days of this. And so by that time, about 12 hours had passed. It was probably 4:30 to 5:30 in the morning when I was actually able to just sit up in my bed, and very quickly realized I was dehydrated. And I could see the light from my living room that I had left on from the day prior just pouring in through my open bedroom door. And, I miss incandescent bulbs. Like, I'm a 90s kid. Like, I grew up with the nice, like, soft, orangey, yellowish, kind of tan, light hue from incandescent bulbs. And that's just memories of a time gone past. Like, these new light bulbs fucking suck, dude. I can't stand this LED fucking bullshit. Like, it's fucking white, fucking oppressive light fucking hue in these new light bulbs. And so, yeah, like I said, it'd been, finally the sun had passed over the quantum plasma ash ridden sky 5 times. And it, this started at like 7, I ate the stuff around 6:37, and it was probably 4:30 to 5 in the morning. And, yeah, like that was the moment that, I still hadn't realized that, the shrooms were just telling me a story in another dimension. I was still completely convinced in a delirium, literally a delirium, that, I had been transported to our planet in another dimension, and I was just stuck. I was just stuck there. I was going to have to live the rest of my day or my days, if I was lucky, out in this dimension on this planet. But instinct kicked in, and I wiped the snot off my nose and wiped my tears off my face and dried my eyelashes on my pillowcase, and slowly started realizing that I had feeling in my body. I could feel my fingers, I could feel my arms, I could feel my legs, I could feel my chest, and my heart was still beating. And my brain was still thinking thoughts, and my eyes were still seeing, and my nose was smelling, etc., etc. Like, I'm Agent Quantum, I'm in a human body, I'm still fucking alive somehow. I don't know how, but I am. And this body is viciously dehydrated. We need to get fucking water. And I got up from my bed very slowly, because I had just taken on, 10 billion souls plus all the quadrillions of, animal souls that had been bled out vampirically by these beings, by these invaders, for the past 5 days. And so my body was fucking tanked. I was just fatigued like nothing else. Like, it was hard. It was hard the moment I got up out of bed. I had to lean against the wall every step. Every single step. It was, like, not easy. I could have fallen over very easily. That was, like, kind of that was the way it was feeling. And the fear is just overwhelming. Overwhelming. The terror had started to subside, but it's like PTSD, or they used to call it shell shock. People coming back from the Vietnam War, before they had the term PTSD, they called it shell shocked. Like, that's a great word to describe the feeling. And so, I walked maybe like an eighth or a quarter of a mile an hour over the 30 or 40 feet it was to get from my bed to my bedroom door to breach the living room into the overwhelming white fucking bullshit LED light into the living room. And the real sun, the third dimensional sun that we have here, in this world, the real world or whatever, the not shroom world, hadn't come up yet. It hadn't, you know, come over the horizon yet at that point. Like I said, it was probably 5 to 5:30 in the morning. You know, I very slowly walked my fatigued shell of a body through the living room to the couch, back to where I had drunk the shroom water in the first place. And I think I had like half a gallon of water from like an old orange juice gallon like left over on the coffee table, and proceeded to start to drink. I mean, it was like it was it was the silence though. Like that was what it was. Like that was what really kills you after the entire planet's been raped and murdered and tortured for 5 days straight in some alternate dimension, and you're the only one left. Like the silence. Like, you know, as a human being, a lot of times we can feel like we're alone or we're lonely. We're really not. Really not. You know, science proves this, you know, like collective consciousness, empathy, even, you know, stepping up from empathy to telepathy. All this stuff is science. Like, it is proven through our pineal glands, through the electromagnetic fields that are created by our hearts, and our other, places, originators of energy in our system. Some people call it a chakra system or whatever. I'm not going to get into all that, but you know, as a human being, you know, there's a lot of us who can go a day or two or a couple, like a week or a couple weeks, even months without making contact with another being, be it human or an animal or talking to a plant or whatever. You know, we can be like, yeah, I'm a human and I feel very lonely right now. And that's just not true. It's just not true. Our centers of energy, right? Like our hearts, our brains, our throats, our stomach, and our root, root of our spine. All these places, they are all emitting biological electromagnetic fields, and in these fields, you know, they extend. They're not within the body. They don't, you know, the skin doesn't hold that in. These fields emit outwardly, and all of our fields are together. And if you think this is tinfoil hat shit, then like, why does your Wi-Fi work? Why is there invisible shit in the air that is letting you watch this video on your laptop or on your phone right now? It's because of invisible vibrations and frequencies. Like, the body does the same thing. So don't even argue with me about that. So, you know, at this point in time, it was like 5:30 to 6 in the morning, and I was slowly and surely just sipping on this water left over in this orange juice jug. And like I said, you know, like as human beings on this planet where there's 10 billion of us here, and there's countless other living beings, plants, animals, spores, fungi, we're never alone. We're never alone. You are never alone. We are, even when we are separate, we are still walking this path together. And that was the fear that I felt, as the fifth Passover of the sun, of the invisible sun, and this ash cloud of this murder torture simulation has started to come to an end. Was that these beings were like, thanks, Agent Quantum. We had a lot of fun with you. Time for us to get out of here. See ya. And just sitting there on an empty planet, a dead planet. The silence. And it wasn't like I felt lonely. It's just I was alone. And it was just, there's really nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing to make a sound. And there was no point in me making a sound either. No, nothing to receive it, or nothing to receive any sound. This went on for about another hour or so, just sitting, shell-shocked, literally shivering, tremors, whole body tremors, body trying to process, like, yeah, this is it, this is the end, you have passed the final chapter, agent. Like, you have finished the book. And now your consciousness is crawling over the end of the fucking binder of the book and is now crawling on the outer back of the cover. Like, it's just like, what? Where are we going from here? Where are we going now? And, you know, the, some people have, like, you know, some people have various ideas about different races of extraterrestrials and stuff, like, you know, Arcturians or reptilians. And so a lot of people in the modern, you know, neo-spiritual communities believe in this stuff, right? I don't necessarily subscribe to that stuff anymore. I first subscribed to these ideas when I was 13 years old. I'm 29 now. Like, good for you if that works. Whatever. I'm not hating on you, but you know, I've been in the game with this shit for over 16 years now. However, you know, I was contacted by a collective of beings, of interdimensional extraterrestrial beings, on the tail end of this 5-day massacre. By the time, you know, the actual IRL sun of our planet Earth came over the horizon, about half an hour before the IRL sun came over our real life horizon for the start of the next day, you know, a really good descriptor of this collective of beings, you know, is something that these neo-spiritual communities they use this term, and they use this term Galactic Federation. It's a cool idea. It's a cool idea, and they contacted me. Probably around, like, you know, 6:15, 6:20 in the morning, telepathically. As the IRL sun from our third dimension was about to crest over the horizon, and they proceeded to explain to me telepathically that I was like these beings, like these evil fucking monsters wanted, you know, from the planet and from me, was to get what they wanted, to do what they wanted to the planet and every living being on it, and make me bear witness, and allow me to live to tell the tale. So anyways, long 5-day night story short, this Federation contacted me to prepare me for the next day. And they proceeded to tell me telepathically that I was to meet with a world leader, a new world leader, a new world order, and to prepare to be a guest on a galactically networked interdimensional broadcast station, like the news, as the sole survivor of planet Earth, to explain what had happened, like a witness to a crime on the news. And then the sun in real life came up, and that sun washed all the evil away, washed all of that worst ever away. And that morning I proceeded to take the last of that bag, that other 14 grams of penis envies, and I threw it in the coffee bean grinder, turned it into powder, stirred it into a cold cup of water. I drank that cup too. And there wasn't too much to remember about the next day with the real sun. It was just a good day. It was just a good day.